Yes, sir. No, because I don't have speakers hooked up to the Focusrite. I'm just using headphones. Do you have to accept these people to come into Zoom? Okay, because oh, I heard an echo there.
Recording in progress.
Okay, well, everyone, we might give just a few more minutes for some people to kind of come in here. We only had 7 that signed up in total, which actually is not a bad number. And I like working with smaller groups anyway. It helps me to actually answer questions better whenever I know that I don't have, 50 people's hands raised and all of that madness. So at the top of the chat here on YouTube, there is a Q&A section where you can ask questions while we're headed into this. It looks like Leon has just joined here in Zoom. Good deal. If you are in Zoom, go ahead and make sure that if you want to just make sure real quickly, yes, I can hear you and you can hear me. That's one thing. But while we're actually going through today's lesson, make sure that you have your microphone muted. And we'll talk about this here a little bit more here in just a minute. With that being said, though, I did this on 2 different platforms for a reason. First and foremost, if I go through Zoom and Zoom only, yeah, you would be able to hear me and see me, but the audio quality is not going to be up to par. And I might make moves here in Cakewalk or do something and you're going to go, what in the world? I don't know what's going on. And it's really glitchy, I've noticed. So I thought it would be best actually to, rather than going through Zoom to do my audio side of things, if you can follow along on YouTube for the audio portion of things. And then if you have a question you want to ask in person, you can always hop over to Zoom. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, Leon is in here. Has his mic and camera muted. Okay. Leon, if you could though, in the chat, could you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and of course, at any time, if you have issues with anything, please. Awesome. Because I can hear you. Good deal. Okay. So, Leon, okay, you're on both. Gotcha. Okay, I was worried you was only inside of Zoom and I was like, well, you're not going to be able to follow along then. Okay, good deal. So Leon can hear me. That's good. Awesome. All right. Well, if that's the case, it is now 2:06. We will wait until 2:10. How about that before we get up and going? Oh, Crackly did not get the email. Man. Okay. Yeah, we're going to wait a few more minutes just to make sure that everybody gets in here. And don't worry, this isn't cutting into our first hour. We'll just mark this down as setup issues because I knew we was going to have them. You always do. So awesome. We'll wait on Mr. Crackly here. And I will check the QA section real quickly just to see. Okay, I don't see anything in the QA section as of right now. That's fine. Good deal. We got Cindy all up in here, the violin gal. Doing some awesome stuff here lately. Thanks for sending me those videos, by the way, man. That's inspiring. Hey, what's up, brother? Really? I like that shirt. Nice. Real quickly, Leon, could you unmute the mic and see if I can actually hear you?
Test. Can you guys hear me?
Absolutely. Awesome.
All right. Perfect.
No,
deal.
can't hear you.
Awesome. All right.
Robert, what are the other names that are included in this masterclass? So if they make a thing saying they didn't get a link in Discord, I can get them set up.
Yeah, okay. Let me figure that out. So go in here, segment. Okay, so it would be Mark Lance, Ian Webster.
That's Crackly.
Okay. Steve Thompson, Patrice, or Janae Walker, James Sheets, Hans Krohn, Leon Banks, and DJ the Man Big Red. Why does he keep changing his name to that? That's so weird. Why does he?
That's Robert. Okay, well, I think you're just gonna have Leon, Crackly, and myself. I don't think the other ones are, because
Okay.
Hans already stated that he can't make it. He's producing.
Oh, nice. Okay. I don't know if these others are actually a part of Discord either. So, which you did make a post in there. So if they were going to see it, they would have. I'll check Discord real quick before we get started, and then that'll be the final countdown.
I got Discord open on another computer on a different screen.
Okay, cool. You didn't see anybody in there asking anything?
Just Crackly, and I've already DM'd him.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like that is it then. We will go ahead and getting some people joining Discord here lately that I'm like, some of these screen names. Mr. Bobolini. I think he's related to Boba Fett. Right on. Okay, so there is a little bit of a delay, about 10 seconds from the stream to where I am. So keep that in mind as well. There's a way I can fix that, but if I do, I notice it creates a lot more. It's a lot harder on my computer. So we will go ahead and for those of you who are in Skype, make sure that your microphones are muted for this next portion. And what we're going to do is we'll just go ahead and start. It's now 2:11. I'm a minute late. See, look at this already. Okay, so let me over here and all right, so all right, you guys should be seeing the Mastering the Mix up on your screen. Okay, good deal. Let me check the chat real quick. Okay, we're good. So welcome, first and foremost, to the Mastering the Mix Masterclass. This is going to be an exhaustive lesson, so if you have to step away, you can always come back later, I understand. This is going to be recorded, and awesome. Crackly Software just got in here just in time. Good job, buddy. So this is going to be recorded. So if you have to step away, duty calls, literally, you can always take care of that. And then all of this yet again It will be sent to you in an email form. So if you need to go back and relearn anything that maybe we've covered, or maybe I was moving too fast in an area, maybe I answered your question, you wondered exactly what I said again, because we all sleep and then we forget stuff. That's definitely an option too. So with that being said, let's go ahead and cover what we're going to be covering today. So I'm going to be more sort of hands-on today, so I'm not going to have as many slides and teaching from that aspect, but I do want to begin with some slides because I'm a nerd like that. So the format of today's teaching session is going to be 3 hours of intense training. So I know you guys signed up for this though. There's going to be 2 intermissions. So I'm going to teach for an hour. We'll have a 15-minute break, more like 45 minutes with a 15-minute break. And then I'll teach for another 45 minutes with a 15-minute break. And then the last hour we will wrap up. At the end of each of those 45 minutes though, before we have our break, I would like to have some Q&A. If we have nothing, we'll go ahead and take that full 45 minutes. If we have some questions, we can take time to answer those, because I'm almost positive with the mix that we have to work with today, there should not be a problem whatsoever going through, and at least if we don't get it completely finished, we'll get there at a point where I feel like you guys have at least got a lot out of today's stream. So, and then everybody can ask questions. So don't think like this is a stupid question. Why would I ask this? You know, don't ever get to that point. I want everybody to ask any question. There's no stupid questions. Have your pen and paper handy so that as we are going through things, you can write questions down, and maybe that way you don't forget, so that you can get the most value out of this as well. And then obviously mute your mic until the Q&A section. Then we'll unmute our mics. We'll come on here and we'll ask questions. I did send your PDF guides through email form. If you did not get a chance to get a hold of those, let me know. They're not necessarily going to be like incredibly valuable while we're going through this masterclass, but they are going to be valuable going forward in your journey if you don't already have those, because a lot of you are already VIP members. So if you're a VIP member, you've already got access to all those PDF guides anyway. So Crackly Software has just entered in the Zoom call. What's up, brother? And then, okay, so it looks like awesome. Crackly, if you don't mind, can you go ahead and unmute your mic real quick, and then just so that we know that we can actually hear you. Maybe he can't hear me. I'm not sure. Okay, cool. We'll get to that portion. We might have to struggle through that first Q&A, but it'll be fine. And then next, let's talk about some good habits. So this is, as we go into this, I know Leon, you and DJ both were a part of the Rocket Fuel bundle. So you've kind of been through some of this before, but this is going to be sort of a refresher for you guys. And it's not going to be exactly what we covered in the Rocket Fuel, but these are just good habits to get you started in with a better foot forward whenever you sit down to actually perform a mix. So this is sort of the stuff that you don't see, the behind the scenes stuff that mix engineers who want to make a career out of it, things that they have to really nail down. So first and foremost, create and use templates. And I know as much as the internet is telling you that that's stupid, they're all going to tell you like, no, you want to start from scratch so that you can put your own unique fingerprint on it and all. I've heard all kinds of different gobbledygook out there, but to be honest, if a template helps you get to, 75% of the way there with a sound, or even with an entire mix, why would you go all the way back to square one and start with nothing and get back up to the point where you already had it with your preset or your template? So it doesn't make any sense to take that advice and just say, no, if you want to be a purist and just completely do that and, waste a lot of time, for lack of a better term, I mean, just to be blunt, if you want to waste a lot of time, go ahead and build everything from scratch. But if you want to work at this like someone who's business minded, you have to realize like, okay, there's a reason why these companies pay these platinum Grammy winning mix engineers all the money that they pay them to create these templates and to create these presets, because obviously they know what they're doing. So if you can use, like say you're trying to get a bass guitar to set in a mix, you pull up a plugin that you would typically use on bass and you click all over the place. You're not getting a good sound, but you click 2 presets and now you're already there at the second preset, or at least really close. And you're like, wow, all I got to do is just to adjust a few things. Like, you just save yourself a ton of time. So use those presets as starting points only though. And that's the next point that I want to say is, don't just like, and it was kind of a challenge that we did in the Rocket Fuel bundle where I actually said to mix an entire song using nothing but presets, which is kind of a cool little, like, if you ever get a chance, try that, because it's really kind of a cool little scenario where you can go, wow, I actually got really close to a finished mix just using presets. Of course, you always want to go back and tweak things based off of what every mix needs, because obviously every mix is going to be different. So use those presets as a great launching pad, as a starting point. Now, as you are mixing and as you're sitting down to talk with clients, especially as you are trying to wrap your head around something that, you know, in today's case, we got 29 tracks to mix. As you're trying to wrap your head around that, eliminate your distractions. So that's going to be anything that could possibly crop up. And all of us, I'm sure, myself, I'm probably the worst at this. I have, you know, shiny red ball syndrome where I'm doing one thing and then I'm like, ooh, what about this? And oh, I got an email. And oh, you know, Leon's just changed his background to something cool. And oh, so it's easy to get distracted. And, you know, when you do that, all you're doing is you're hurting yourself, because what happens is you get to the place where you're not focused anymore. And so then you start to ask yourself, well, what was I doing a minute ago? And then you get caught in the weeds and you start actually readjusting stuff that you was adjusting before. And now you just start chasing your tail. It's not a good thing. So eliminate as many distractions as you possibly can. And then obviously minimize TV, social media, and other time thieves. If you want to make a career out of this, you want to be really good at what you do, you need to make sure that you prioritize. And so that's with anything in life. If you go to a job, like let's say I work 7 to 3 every day now, but if I go to my job and I'm on my phone all day long, like, do you think that job is going to keep me around? No, they're going to be like, dude, you're on your phone all the time. We can't keep your attention. We don't know where you're at half the time. You know, the line has been down for over an hour. We're not running anything. What are you doing? You're going to get reprimanded for that. So if you want to treat your mixing career as a career, then you have to really put those limitations on yourself as well, and realize, if I'm going to do this, like, I'm going to clock in at, let's say 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to be mixing until 9 o'clock in the morning. And so during those times, just like I would if I was on the job, I'm not going to check my social media. I'm not going to hop on TV. You know, I'm not going to this and that. So I say all that to say this is all about just creating good habits that's going to help you moving forward. And then next, obviously, block out time. So the best thing that you can do for yourself is actually have some kind of a desk calendar, a wall calendar, a board, Post-it notes. Lord knows I love Post-it notes. Get Post-it notes out and say, okay, from this time to this time, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing nothing else. And if you can create that sort of like laser sharp focus on whatever area that you're in, you're going to be light years ahead of what other people are doing, because you have sort of a defined purpose for that time, instead of just willy-nilly, like, I might or I might not do this. That being said, I would encourage you then to develop a system. Now, you've been given a 15-step mixing system. What you're going to notice is that 15-step mixing system is sort of the baseline that I send out to everybody, just to sort of get them the concept of, this is what a system would look like. Now, you'll notice that over the years, as I've been giving this system out, I don't even use that system anymore. I use a portion of that system. But the whole premise of giving you that system to begin with is to show you that, yes, it is possible to create a system, for one, and for two, to show you like what those steps might look like you can add to and take away. Now I've got to the point where I've added to and taken away, and I've probably got more down to like 7 or 8 steps, depending on what I'm working with. But if I ever get to a point where I'm working on a mix and I'm like, my goodness, I'm this far into the mix and I've gotten nowhere, it's like, that's a good point to say, okay, at this point, I need to go back to that mixing system that I started with, go back to my roots and say, okay, what did I used to do? Maybe that will help me to figure out where I'm at now and where I need to be. So, what I would encourage you to do though is take that 15-step mixing system, find out what works for you, and then allow your workflow to sort of evolve organically. And I hate the word evolve, but that's actually a right term of it, is to evolve organically. And that means it's just constantly evolving into something that makes sense for you. Maybe you don't record instruments, but you use a lot of MIDI instruments. So your process is going to look completely different if you're producing a song versus someone else who does nothing but real instruments. So with that being said, it's kind of a no-brainer, but find a system, use that system, and allow that system to then evolve based off of your needs, the customer's needs, and what you, as you learn, you always, and you should be, as you learn, you should always learn other ways to do things. And so learn from others, myself included, but only apply what you learn to what fits for you. So if I tell you, throw up an 𝗬𝗵𝗲 on a mic or on a guitar cabinet and put another 𝗬𝗵𝗲 at a 80-degree coincidental, maybe you only have one microphone. Well, that's obviously not going to work for you. So you just need to apply what does work. And you can always follow a teaching back down to the base of it, the root of it. So if I was going to tell you how to mic up a guitar amplifier, the root of that is you at least would need what? A microphone, and you would need a guitar amplifier. So if you have neither of those, obviously you can't apply that. So, but if you do, then, and I'm telling you, we'll use, 5 microphones because that's the best way to get the best sound, which by the way, it's not. But if I tell you to do that, and you only have one microphone, then you go back to the root of that and you say, okay, what's the root of this? The root would be you use one microphone, you move it around till it sounds like you want it to sound. So learn from others, but only apply what fits for you. And then obviously if you learn something and you take something away from a training, or you take something away from some kind of a masterclass like this, write it down, because there's something in our minds. I don't know what it is, but when we write something down, it literally like solidifies it. And also because I'm sure none of you have this problem. I'm sure that you forget stuff. But I have a horrible problem of forgetting stuff. I forget people's names. I think some days I forget my own name. But it's like, if I don't write it down, I lose it. And so I can always come back to that and go, oh, that's what that meant. And even better, I would use a voice memo app. If it's like a melody, use your voice memo app, write it down. If it's some kind of like, because all of us do this, I'm sure you'll be at work and you're thinking about a mix you're working on. You're like, ooh, I just found out, I just thought through that in my mind and realized that's what I need to do to that bass guitar. And then you don't write it down. You get home and you're sitting there in front of your computer, banging your head against the desk going, now what was it that I was thinking about? So your voice memo app is a great way to just like take a quick voice memo of what you were thinking about. You can type it out on your voice, on your notes app, write it down somewhere. That's what I'm getting at. That's going to help you tremendously. So the why of the system. So as I said, I gave you the 15-step mixing process. And this is the system that I started out with, the system that I still technically use, but has been enhanced for my needs. But with that being said, why would you use that system? Well, obviously it's for, one, continuous improvement. If you don't have a baseline to go off of, if you don't have a starting point to go off of, you'll never know if you're moving the needle. So you have to have a starting point before you'll know if you've moved ahead an inch or two in life. And so the one thing that I always encourage my students is, if you have old mixes, like, don't trash those mixes ever. Hang on to those mixes, because when you get in the molly grubs and you're like, man, I'm the worst mix engineer ever, my mixes sound like trash. You can go back to a mix that you made like a year ago and be like, wow, okay, I'm not as bad as what I thought I was. Wow, I thought, okay, I'm making some progress. You're moving the needle. So with a system in place, you have this continuous improvement that because you're making progress now. My mixes are sounding better. I'm more focused, which is the next portion of this, because with that system in place, now you have a more enhanced focus. You're not like, oh, I'm going to put it into mono and I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to throw some plugins over here and I'm going to do this. it's like, okay, with a system in place, I can go, all right, this is exactly what I'm doing right now at this point. And with that focus will come clarity. With clarity comes clarity in other things. So if you have clarity of mind, you're going to have clarity in mix. It just makes sense. And then obviously you're going to have, and this is the best case scenario, you're going to have repeatable results. So with repeatable results, I literally mean that you are going to have the results over and over and over right out of the gate, because now you're using the same process. So, and this is how literally like mix engineers, I don't know if they do it just like this, but I would say a majority of them probably do. And I know it for a fact. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗛𝗦𝗦 𝗦, he's one of those small mix engineers out there. You know, he doesn't do too bad of work. But he said that he has a system himself that he's put into place. And by having that system in place, that's how you can get those same repeatable results. And then people can go, hey, guess what? He's got a unique sound that's him. That's his sound. Well, the only way to put your fingerprint on a mix, other than just your plug-in choices and stuff like that, is to have that repeatable process that you always use. And so that way, when people come to you, and a lot of times what you're going to find is as you get better at this, people are not going to come to you because of your prices are cheaper. People are going to come to you because you have a specific sound that you bring to the table. So a lot of people hire 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗛𝗦𝗦, even though he can mix, he's on the same level as a lot of these other mix engineers. Why would you choose Andrew Scheps over 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗛𝗦𝗦? Because each one of them have a different sonic footprint that they leave on the mix. One compresses the drums more than the other. One puts a lot more reverb on a vocal than the other. One does this, one does that. But either way, they have a specific process that they go through in order to make sure that they have their fingerprint on that mix. And so that will help you to develop your own unique sound as well. Okay. Now, with all that being said, we are going to go ahead and move to the next portion of which we'll actually start diving into the mix. I've been going now for about 30 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. Didn't realize I was rambling that much. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to go ahead, and before we even start in with the mixing portion of this, I want to go ahead and if you guys have a question, there is the ability to, I thought there was if you go to the reactions at the bottom of the page, you can actually go whoop, and raise your hand. If you ever have a question while we're teaching those, that'll let me know that you do have your hand raised. That's at the bottom of the screen where it says reactions. So by show of hands, before we move forward, does anyone have a question? Okay, Mr. Leon, what is up, brother?
All right, just a quick question here, Robert. The file that you send in the email with the tracks, are we supposed to have those open on Cakewalk as well?
No, it's not imperative.
Okay.
No. What I was hoping to obtain from that would be that you would have the exact same tracks that I worked with, so that if later, whenever you go back through this masterclass, and it's kind of like an extra, so that later when you go back through the masterclass, you can go, oh, okay, I have those same tracks. This is how we got to that point. And hopefully, let me stop this real quick here. Oh, look at my little picture inside of a picture. But yeah, basically that's what I was trying to get to. Okay, sorry about that, guys. But basically, yeah, it's just to use at your own leisure.
Just another question.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, you see how you send the track like with that zip file? Is there a way that you could export the entire thing to Cakewalk as like as a drag and drop?
Yeah. And basically all you'd have to do is, hold on, let me fix this real quick. Basically all you'd have to do is just, do you have access to unzip the file?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. If you just basically unzip the file, it'll package it into a different set of files that can be dragged and dropped into Cakewalk.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Awesome. Okay. Hey, there I am. Now I'm in the frame. Okay, so that was a weird dance. Sorry. Don't know where that came from. If there are no other questions, then we'll go ahead and jump into the actual mixing portion of this. Awesome. I will be keeping an eye on that, as well as the Q&A over here on YouTube. So you can always ask sort of a typed out question there. If you don't want to, maybe you can't get Zoom set up properly, or you don't feel comfortable being on camera or hearing your own voice. I get that too. So we can do that. All right. So, all right. By way of the chat, let's make sure that you guys can actually see my screen now here on what we're working with. Doodly-doo. Okay, so Leon, could you give me a thumbs up if you can? Okay, DJ's clapping for me. I'm gonna take it that's a good sign there.
Robert,
Yeah.
you should tell everybody to switch audio from Zoom to YouTube if they want to hear the full effect of what you're about to show.
Oh, good point. Good point. So yeah, if you guys are checking this out on Zoom, you're going to want to hop over to YouTube in order to get the best audio quality, because I'll be the first to tell you right now, yeah, Zoom's audio quality is trash. All right. Trying to see if there's a way I can get this Zoom over here. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So, without further ado then, so we have 29 tracks before us in total, and these are live recorded tracks. And there's a reason why I specifically chose this. For one, it's a newer recording. This was from our worship fest that just took place last Sunday, the 30th. And when I asked the question inside the email, I sent a form out. I don't know if you guys had access to that. I had two responses. One person said they wanted me to mix instrumental, and another person said gospel. So I thought, well, this would be like a perfect blend of the two, because it actually starts with a cello and a violin, and then it moves into the other instrumentation. But what you can see here is we have a lot of stuff going on, and this is a cool medley. And no, it's not a typo. It really is 12 minutes long. So the reason why I'm also showcasing this is because it's got a wide variety of instruments and a lot of stuff that we're going to have to fix. So first and foremost, when you hit play right now, you can already hear there's background noises. There's, like on this track right here, there's a little bit of white noise. So there's a lot to learn from this, and that's what I figured this would be the best case scenario, because it's obviously going to provide the most learning experience. So looks like DJ is helping you all out over there. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do, first and foremost, we talked about creating a template and using presets. So as you can see on your screen right now, this that I'm using is actually, these were all flown into a template. And so it's a little bit harder from the offset, because you have to fly in each individual track based off of what it is to the screen here where it's actually supposed to go. Like say the lead vocal track, I had to literally handpick that out of the list of files, click and drag it over to the lead vocal track. But on the back end of it here on the DAW, it makes it a lot easier, because now it's already got a starting point EQ. It's already got console emulation on and activated. And it's already got routing set up for all of my reverbs, delay, and saturation, as well as my drums and parallel compression. So look at how much time that I just saved myself, not having to color code things, not having to put icons on things that make me find it easier, not having to input all these extra buses. And so, but as of right now, other than the EQ moves that are kind of baked in here intrinsically, which is basically just a high pass filter that's rolling off, you know, like I think it's like 40 hertz and above or something crazy. Okay, on the vocals, it's like 100 hertz and above. But I think on these other tracks, yeah, it's 30 hertz and above. So anything below 30 hertz, you're never really going to need that information unless it's like a bass guitar, a room mic, something where you're really wanting to get that extra low end. But even whenever you go to export a master, you're always going to roll off 20 hertz and below anyway, so it doesn't really matter. With that being said, all of this just helped to save a ton of time. So yet again, this is a good argument for using those templates and presets. So now the first step of my mixing process, second step, and even the third step, I believe I've already covered. I've already got everything flown in, color coded, it's labeled properly, and everything's good to go. So if you're following along with the 15-step mixing process, yet again, I'm going to be blazing through sort of what mine has already evolved into. So just take that with a grain of salt. I'm going to go ahead and select all of these tracks by holding Control A over here in this panel. I'm going to hold the Control button again, and I'm going to bring down all of the faders. And what we're going to do now is what's called a static mix. So literally, a static mix is just basically like a shoot from the hip. I like to call it a feel mix too, because you're literally just pulling up things as you feel them. And you're placing things volume-wise where they need to be as you feel them in the mix. So with that being said, one of the first things that I always start with, it's sort of obviously it's a good starting point anyway, is the drums. I'm going to bring that up to about -6 on the faders, and we're going to work with the drums first. And I'll go to a portion here where they're really playing a lot to kind of get a good balance of them. Okay, we'll pull this back up. Okay, and right out of the gate, I'm not happy with the way the drums sound at all. So what I'm going to do is, now the cymbals in and of themselves, I'm not necessarily happy with them, but they don't have to sound pristine. But what I am really not liking is the kick is not doing it for me. Neither is the snare. So first thing I'm going to do right out of the gate is start replacing some of these drum sounds simply because they're not going to work. And then I can't build a good static mix with sounds that I don't feel right off the gate anyway. And I'm not feeling these at all. So I'm going to go over here to the kick, and I am looking for Addictive Trigger. Now, this is a plugin that's used from Addictive Drums. And it's absolutely amazing, by the way. In fact, Addictive Drums 2 is that's the program I've been using for all of my drums, I think pretty much ever since I've started. And if it ever comes up here, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is kind of what it looks like. And this is what the kick sounds like now. I'm sorry, that's actually with the Addictive Drums here. It doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound like a kick that I want to hear. So I can actually come over here to this panel right here. And oops. Yeah, this panel right here. and I can actually adjust until I find a good kick sound. And I thought there was a way to. Okay, so this is only going to work for snare. Hold on a minute. Okay, so here's some kicks. Let me zoom back out because I think I got it bypassed, so it's not going to work. There we go. Okay, so what I want to do then is change this to kick. Now that sounds a little beefier, a little bit better, but I want it more attacky. That's what I'm looking for. And then so that'll give me the thump that I'm looking for, and then this is going to give me my low end. I'm going to turn that up a little bit. You can see how you can blend the two too. Now that sounds like a good kick. Okay, so what I can do is this little bar right here is going to tell me where the kick is hitting and how it needs to hit. I'm going to come back here where the kick is not as loud though and adjust it from here. And then if I hit super start, check this out. It's going to normalize the gain, detect the hits, capture the fingerprint, and adjust the threshold and sensitivity for me. Now watch what happens. This is amazing. Okay, so we went from this, which is like, ugh, to this. Okay, amazing. And then I'm gonna, obviously, I'm not cool with this snare, and I can actually eliminate a track as well, because I'm gonna go in here and delete the snare. Actually, I might want to use the snare bottom because it's a little bit more attacky, and it's just going to give me the transients I need. So I'll delete snare top. I'm going to click and drag addictive trigger down to here as well. Boy, it's being laggy. It's probably because I'm recording in both places at once.
Recording stopped.
I'm just going to stop recording over here on Zoom. I'm already recording it to YouTube and on my personal computer, so I don't need 3 copies. Okay, so now this one, I'm going to set to, snare. Okay, same thing here. Go with the lower portion. So this is what the snare sounds like now. I'd like for it to sound like that, but that might be a bit much. Let me go to a louder portion here. Okay, same thing here. Now tell me that doesn't sound better. So before, after. We just went from a really thin, like hardly anything happening on that drum set to like an amazing, like, wow. So, and it might be a little bit over the top right now, but we can always dial things back later. All right, next is these toms. I'm always worried about toms because these don't. find a good place for them. Okay. Control S is your friend, by the way. Change that tempo. Yeah, Control S is your friend. It just basically, it just saves it so that you can. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to set this to, I always click that for some reason, 𝗵𝗏. I like that one. That sounds good. That's closer to what they were, our front of house engineer was trying to get. So we'll go with that. And then I think what I'm going to do is, because the toms aren't playing like a lot right here, I'm just going to kind of loop the section where the tom hit is. This could get annoying, guys. Sorry. Then use super start. Much better. Okay. It sounds like on this kick, it's doing a double hit for some reason. There we go. Yes, that's what I'm aiming to do, DJ. Okay, so here we go. This should be tom 2. And I don't think tom 2 is actually being hit at that time. But I think it is here. Yeah. Okay, so same thing. You didn't know this was going to be a drum fixer-upper masterclass, did you? So DJ asked the question here in the chat over on YouTube. He said, are you using samples that relate to what the toms are? Tom 1, rack high, tom 2, rack low, tom 3, floor. Yes. Let's see, that last one was that black. What was that? Yeah. Okay, let's see how those two sound together, because I don't want them to sound so similar. longer. Okay, so we got a little bit of a different sound there going on with that one. That's good. Let's see here. What's next? Tom 3. This should be floor tom. I hope it is. Yeah. Okay. Now the floor tom is tricky because you got to find something that's, you got to find something that is beefy, but not like overpowering in the low end. So all right, this will be tom 3. Yeah, that's way too much. I kind of like that one, honestly. Nice. Okay. And now for the overheads, we're just going to leave them like they are. They're going to pick up the transients of the previously recorded drums and then basically just add back into what we already have. So we should have, at least from this point now, we should have a much better starting point for these drums than what we did have. So go ahead and bring the drums all back in again. And what you'll notice here is I do have the overheads already panned hard right and hard left. Let me take that loop off. Okay. And now we can adjust the levels based off of this. That already sounds a whole lot better. Okay, so that, wow. So let's go from where we started here. And this, it never hurts to do this while you're mixing and sort of see if you are in fact moving the needle or not. Okay. Let me, real quickly. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is where we started. That's not a very good starting point. Now, I'm still not completely happy with those overheads, but this is, and another good reason why we're using these tracks, this is reality. Like this is what you would actually come up against if you were getting tracks from people. So, and this is what we have now. Awesome. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now that we have all of this lined out the way that we do is now we're going to insert 𝗵𝗲 𝗛𝗦. Now, because drums are recorded with several different microphones, they have several different source materials. What happens is, you know, the microphone that's on the hi-hat is going to be way different than the microphone that's on the kick. And so it's still picking up each other, although not as much. Probably a better one to think of is the overheads, because if the overheads aren't spaced just far enough apart, if the capsules aren't lined up just right, you're going to have phase cancellation, phase correlation, not phase, that's what you want is phase correlation, but you're going to have phase cancellation and what's the name of that? It's like the Haas effect, basically, where you're getting this weird, like, sounds like it was recorded in a bathtub kind of thing. With a plugin like 𝗵𝗲 𝗛𝗦 though, you can actually auto align, imagine that, all of those microphones as if you were putting them in the right places to begin with. And what that does is it brings it all into phase. Once it's in phase, then you have this amazing drum sound yet again. So we've already came a long way, baby. But what we're going to do is we're going to set this first one here to drum set. So that's our group, as you can see here, set to drum set. Okay. And then we're going to make sure that Robert gets out of this screen. There we go. I forgot how to use my buttons for a minute. And then we're going to make sure that we click and drag this to all of them. And we're going to put that before the trigger because we want the trigger to pick up the right timing, obviously. Now on the overheads, we're going to set this one differently. The group on this one is going to be drum overheads, as we have here. Okay. So DJ's asking, do I use the drummer's perspective? I kind of honestly, I go with audience perspective. That's kind of my thing. I always like to hear the hi-hats on the right. I like to hear the kick in the middle, the snare just a little bit to the right. I usually leave it center. And then the toms, I'm just left, center, right usually, or at least like a good blend of that so that they at least have some space. A good question though. So I'm going to adjust the overheads first based off of what we hear here. And all I got to do is turn this on and analyze. It's going to analyze for both of the groups. So drum overheads. Okay, so it's analyzed it. By clicking on the second one, you can see it's already moved at 68 samples. They were 20.8 inches too far away from each other, basically. And it's also inverted or flipped the polarity. So as you can listen to the snare gets just a little bit, not beefy, but it gets a little bit more realistic sounding when that's enabled. And there's a reason for that because now they're in alignment. So we're going to do the same thing with the rest of the drums here. And hopefully what this will do is it'll give us a really good drum sound. Even better than what we have already. Okay. This is the beauty of digital electronics, that they can just nice. This is before, after. Okay, so now that is a good drum sound we can work with. So what we're going to do now that we have a good drum sound to work with, we're going to send all these drums into the drums bus. And I see there's a question on Zoom. Awesome. Yeah, because there's not a lot of people in this masterclass, if you want to ask questions on the fly, we can do that too, just as long as they're kind of concise and So Leon, you had a question, buddy? Okay. Not sure if Leon can hear me or if he's not. Okay. DJ, if you can relay what the question was, because I'm not sure if he's able to see that right now. And then I can try to get back to him that way. Can you hear me now, Leon? Okay, it looks like he's typing his question out. Awesome. Did you have a question, buddy?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It was just the audio was bouncing up and down, so I wasn't. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. DJ said something about you might have a question. Did you have a question? Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on. And then if you need to type that in the chat, you can do that as well. Okay. So we got our drums at least at a point where they need to be.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if the way how you have like all the drums, you know, like aligned together, would that be done for all instruments?
No. So typically speaking, you would only use like an alignment plugin. There's other ones out there, but 𝗵𝗲 Align, I feel like it has probably taken the cake. It's the best one. But essentially, if you have more than one microphone, that's whenever, like if there's more than one microphone recording a source, that's when you would do that. So like say, for instance, if you're recording an acoustic guitar and you have two microphones on there, like in a stereo formation, then you would want to use something like 𝗵𝗲 Align. A lot of times, just based off of how you record that, you can actually get it in phase to begin with by setting the capsules on top of each other and making sure that they're not spaced too far apart. There is a 3-to-1 rule too, where if you're going to move them apart, you move them exactly 3 feet from each other. They stay in phase. So, but on something where it's got multiple microphones, that's where you would use that. So great question though. Okay, so now that we have the drums where they are, I'm not really hearing that hi-hat at all. Not that that's a bad thing, because I can't stand hi-hat. Yeah, it sounds like it's mainly just picking up, and they may not have even used it, because it don't look like it's picking up not much of anything, honestly. With that being said, that might not be the best track to align off of. Let's go back to this and use this track to analyze. Okay, so I don't think it changed it dramatically, but at least let's do that one more time here. Yeah, it's not dramatic, but it changed it a little bit. But yeah, that will at least get us in a better starting point. So yeah, I'm thinking you're right. That hi-hats track just needs to go because it's not really providing anything but mud. Oh no, I just deleted all those tracks. Thank God for Control-Z. There we go. Just the one track, Robert. Okay. All right, now with that being said, now that I have these drums at a point where I think they sound balanced together, I am going to turn them down though. I think I'll create a group where if I just move, oops. I thought I was going to create a group. There we go. Now if I move one fader, it will move them all and I won't have to push the control button every time. Okay, now I'm going to go over to my drums bus. This is where I'll do my EQ moves. That way I'm EQing all of it at once. And it's a little bit more straightforward. Okay. You'll find this in your EQ cheat sheet. 65 hertz is where the punch of that kick is. Hertz is where you take out the muffledness. You just get mainly the attack and punch of that. Okay. Now I'm going to move this over, check this out. So this here is my my parallel compression track. So what I'm doing is I'm taking now all those drums, compressing them, like compressing the snot out of them, to where all I'm getting is this. And what I want is to set the attack where I'm really just getting the smack. Okay. Now by blending this in, it's going to give me a lot of more punch on those drums. So that's a good point, Crackly. And the reason why I didn't do that is because, honestly, because I do it different every time. But in this case, what I'm doing is I'm first hitting the bus because I'm going to make the most effect there, broad stroke. But then I can come back and which I was getting ready to do anyway. But then I can come back and adjust these manually as well. So by putting just a little bit on the bus and then kind of doing a little bit of the same move here, I can essentially sort of double up on it. Thank you. I've got coffee now. We're good. Okay. And the snare, I can come all the way up to here. So the circle with the line through it next to the R, that's your phase. So you remember a minute ago I talked about microphones not being in phase. That's exactly what that is it's a phase flip. So it inverts the phase. So you're always going to have to do this almost every time. If you record, like say you're recording acoustic guitar, the DI at the same time that you're plugged in, at the same time you're recording through a microphone, you'll always have to invert the phase. So okay, that sounds good there. And then for the toms, I'm going to get rid of everything 60 hertz and below. That way it doesn't get in the way of the kick. Take care of that. Roll off the high end. Now on these overheads, you notice they're a little bit like, which is kind of like, ugh. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some tape saturation there. And what tape saturation is beautiful for is for ensuring that it sort of like rounds off those high, shrill, shrieking sounds of the emulation. Or I'm sorry, of the hi-hats or cymbals in this case. Okay, let's bring this back in. As you notice, that sounds a lot better. This is before. Okay, we're going to dip out a little bit of the high end here. We're going to go to around 700 hertz and get rid of some of that honkiness. There's that hi-hat. Yeah, and you can still hear it just fine in the overheads, so we're good. And that, to me, that sounded a whole lot better. So let's go ahead and start bringing in. My next element would be bass guitar. Okay, I'm going to go to 72 hertz. I'm going to boost. I'm going to cut all the way up to 62. Cut out around 500. Your bass is always going to kind of look like Batman. Now for this, I love using the quick bass. And I believe that's instant audio. Yeah. So it's got a compressor setting here, and you can set it to opto, FET, or 𝗵𝗲. I like 𝗵𝗲. And set your saturation right here. Okay, let's go back to where we're actually affecting that bass. We'll go right here. I'm going to saturate it, blend in the saturation. This is played with the fingers, so we'll do that. Add in some sub bass there. bass down a little bit. Okay, not only did that bring it up to speed volume-wise, but it just added in the stuff that I would like to hear anyway. So normally at this point in time, if I had all these tracks and wasn't familiar with the song already, I would be doing more of a static mix, and I'm kind of jumping the gun here. I think I'm trying to sort of shave off some time here, because if I went through this like I normally would be, we'd be here all day. So especially for a 12-minute song. But with that being said, so we are already past an hour mark. I don't need a break. If you guys need a break, let me know, and we can take like a 15-minute break. Let me know in the chat here on YouTube, or if you guys are all right, just go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I got my coffee now. I'm good. DJ says Sound Radix Auto Align 2 is also great. Yes, much more expensive though than M Auto Align, and that's why I suggest that. Okay, let's see if I missed any questions over here in the QA. Okay, don't see any there. Good deal. Awesome. Okay, so we are going to just, awesome. And you guys are troopers. We're going to go ahead and just continue on then. Let's go ahead and bring in, up next, we'll bring in some, let's see. Probably need to bring in the keys next, because that's going to be, we'll just kind of work our way backwards. How about that? Now these are stereo recorded, and the way that the front of house engineer, 𝗵𝗲, the way that he records these is he actually records them like we're streaming them. So that way we get the same thing that the stream would hear, pretty much, or close to it. So with that being said, you'll notice even though it's panned to the center, there's a lot more information on the left. So we may have to adjust for that. There's the organ. Okay, so immediately right out of the gate, that actually doesn't sound too bad at all, just in and of itself. So I'll just make a few really quick adjustments. And you're going to notice that I will be shaving off a lot of the low end that's going to interfere with kick and bass. A lot of that low end is going to be added back in with guitars and all the other stuff that's coming in anyway. So I'll go ahead and start panning too. Why not? Just going to pan those 40% right, 40% left. Give them a little bit of separation there. Okay, and then for this piano here, I'm going to put a CA2A on there. And we're going to put a limiter on. Same thing for the organ. What I'm hoping that it will do is bring up those. There we go. Sort of level things out. Put some more drive on those. Change the drive on the bass. Okay, now I'm going to check our master bus here. Okay, so we're starting to get up there volume wise. So we want to keep an eye on that, because what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take that down just a bit to make sure that we're not doing anything too crazy here as far as volume. So we're going to take all of those that we've just adjusted and bring them down to match where we have the drums at. That's given us -6 dBs on the master fader. That's amazing. So, hey, Big Poppy, what's up, brother? You haven't missed too awful much other than a lot of rambling on my behalf. Imagine that. But we're just kind of getting I was calling this a static mix, but it's actually turned into a full-blown mix because I'm trying to save some time, but that's fine. The next thing I want to do, though, is get into these aux keys, because I know there's a portion. Oh, even better. There are no aux keys. Sweet. Oh, that's right. They actually were sick that day. Sweet. So we can actually eliminate that. So DJ asked the question, is it due to CPU usage why you don't use tape more throughout the tracks? Just to be honest, I don't like the sound of tape. I like what it's used for the sense of like high-end shrill instruments, being able to round off that high end with like some tape saturation. But tape across the whole mix, I cannot stand it. It just sounds muddy. It sounds murky. I mean, Motown has an awesome sound. Don't get me wrong. That's a Motown sound, but we're not in Motown anymore. Like this is the 20th century. Everything's bright. And so you want to match your style of mixing also to what you're up against in the market. In the market right now, everything's bright, airy, ambient, in your face. There's not a lot of like murkiness unless you're going to be mixing some emo, and then you can go all out. You can go all out with that. So yeah, we got a good starting point already. Let's move on now to sort of the finer elements, the cello and violin. Now, at the very beginning of our concert, we had the intro was this. What a beautiful name it is, with just cello and violin. looking at here? Okay, so those are definitely going to need some help there volume-wise to get up to speed. Now, what you'll notice is, and this is, you know, in the mixing world and online YouTube teachers, they'll tell you this is a big no-no. I know that I'm -6 on the master fader right now, but I'm mixing into the 𝗬𝗏 just to make sure that I get everything up to speed volume-wise so that I can hear it. I can always go back and bypass that, but whatever moves that I make over here is not really going to be affecting my master bus right now as much. But what it's going to give me is it's going to give me sort of a future snapshot of what it's going to sound like after it's been mastered. So I can make adjustments now while I'm in the mixing stage. That's going to be very imperative to remember that as we move forward. So it's, and yet again, you know, whenever you don't take everything that everybody says to heart. Okay. That's, I guess, a nice way to put it. A lot of people mean well, but if you ever run across anybody who has a channel where they're telling you this is the only way to do it, there's no other way in the world to do it, you need to run from those people as fast as you can, because they don't know what they're talking about. Tell the Beatles that. Tell the Beatles that there's only one way to do it. They'll prove you wrong. With that being said, I'm going to go back to this cello, and what I want to do is the cello is a very just delicate instrument. It needs to have some realism. And with that being said, I also want to compress it because I want to get it up to speed and to sound more consistent, but I don't want to overdo it. So in this instance, something like the 𝐶A2A would definitely that would not work. But the 𝗬𝗏 compressor, where I can add a little bit of grit and saturation in with the signal, is going to be perfect. So I'm actually going to go, imagine this, to a preset, and I'm going to use like gentle acoustic guitar to begin with, and we'll kind of work our way up from there. I'm going to put a little distortion on it. Awesome. It's already sounding beautiful. Yeah, I liked what I had to begin with. That's gorgeous. I think I'm going to cry, guys. Good night. Sorry. Okay, so right there, that's a good learning point right there. You'll notice that on this cello, because it's live, it picked up a little bit of the background noise from Sister Boyd going, hallelujah, which I'm sure she was feeling what I was just feeling. Good. So all of that is good on the like the live sound of it. But if it ever gets to the point where it's interfering with the mix itself, you can actually put on, you know, an expander or something. Honestly though, because it's live, I think I'm just going to leave it. It's right along here. Okay, so in a situation like this, it's like, how were the violin and the cello? Okay, so the cello was mic'd up with, I believe it was a Samson C3. It's not a very expensive microphone at all. The violin was actually plugged in, so it's an electric violin. So, but I think they also used a room mic on that one as well because they had it next to the other. And I'm thinking I can actually get rid of. Thinking I can actually get rid of that voice if I use the, I know, here we go, waves. The clarity plugin. If I'm not mistaken, it should be able to only pick up the violin and remove the vocals. We shall see though. If it don't work, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so we're going to go. Okay, so it at least minimized it a little. This was before. But it also made it sound worse. So let's do this. Yeah, I don't like it. I'm just going to leave it in there. I do have another option though. I'm going to try, let's see here. Now this could get crazy, but I'm going to try. Why not? Let's try it. Yeah, it does. It has an expander gate. I just don't know if it would work like I think it would. I'm just going to leave it. It's fine. Why don't I'll try one more thing. And if that don't work, it's really not that big of a deal because it's live anyway. And that would be, let's see, there's the compressor gate. I suddenly have Boeing B-17 bombers driving by my house. Okay, let's see. Let's use the companion. Let's just loop that section. Yeah, not a big deal. I'm leaving it. I don't think it's enough to... Now for the other aspect of that though, for the gate, like for the rest of it, I can probably try to... Boy, that's an old plugin. Look at that bad boy. Forget that. All right, we'll just move on because I don't think it sounds that bad. Okay, so I got an expander in place for whenever I need it. You know, I was going to have these 15 minutes of question and answer stuff going on. I thought it was going to be needful. If you guys need to ask questions, just pop in the chat and ask, because there's not a lot of you that are here anyway. I can answer them while I'm going, and it should help us to get farther along, because we're already, believe it or not, an hour and 45 minutes into this. I didn't think it was going to go this fast. It's crazy. So I've added in the acoustic guitar. Do you just create duplicate tracks to use? No. With the template that I'm talking about, the tracks are already there. You just kind of fly them into those tracks. And if you start from scratch, it automatically creates the tracks. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking or not, but okay, so come back here. There we go. So we brought our acoustic track in. It actually sounds pretty good like it is. Okay. And I think I am going to put there's a plugin that I have from, I think it's either JMG Sound, yeah. No? Is it Instant Audio? Sound Devices Digital, that's it. It's called 𝗕𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗀. What? Activate? Really? Okay. That's crazy. Okay. Now I got to figure out. So the console doesn't show on your template. That could be because, so I sent you guys out sort of more of just the template itself, like a stripped down version of the template. And then what you're seeing now is the template that I've added to myself. So I've saved, console emulation and stuff like that in there. But at any time, all you have to do is just go in there, add what you would normally want in there to see that, and then save it again as a template and overwrite the file, and you should be good. And then it'll pop up every time, just like you like it. So, and I'm going to, real quickly, I'm not sure. I think they might have updated the 𝗕𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗀. And it's not, I guess it's not really imperative. I can use something else if need be. I just know that it does a really good job of what it's supposed to do. So, and basically all it does is it just makes DI sources sound a little less DI, if that makes any sense. Let me check real quick here though, because I think, that's why I was using the wrong password, I believe. Okay. Okay, so it's been activated now, but I don't know if it'll actually take effect until I shut down and restart the project. Nope, there it is. Okay. So this is before. This is obviously very dynamic, so Okay. So basically I just adjusted my compression settings to match what I feel like the guitar was needed. So see how that sounds in the mix. Okay, so that's where that's definitely going to benefit from some reverb, but we'll get there in a minute. Next up. Yeah, so alternatives to everything that I'm using, super simple. Actually, Cakewalk, honestly, has a lot of these except for 𝗵𝗲 𝗛𝗦. That's something that Cakewalk does not have. It does have, or at least it used to have, a vocal aligner. And you can actually use it for drums. So that might be an option. Addictive Trigger, there's Slate Trigger, there's all kinds of samples you could use. And basically what I did with the trigger, if you go back and watch that portion of it, I just replaced drum samples, basically. I just sampled them out. So if you wanted to, you could get into the weeds of it and get a sample kick and a sample snare and just replace each hit with that. That's one way to do it, and then adjust volume levels and stuff like that. Do you have to split a track to cope with different effects, settings needed on different playing styles, or will one setting often work across the track? If it's one performance, I kind of just treat it as one performance. And Big Poppy, I know you weren't here for the beginning of it, but please, there are no dumb questions. Please, don't worry about it. We are here to learn. I'm not going to be upset in the least bit. Nobody here is going to be either. So ask away. But good question, Leon, because I think it was Leon. No, it's Crackley. Sorry. Good question. Yeah. So if it was a different track, I would probably maybe treat it differently based off of that. But yeah. Okay, now that violin, that's another instance where I would be using tape emulation just to tame some of those highs. I usually set it just about right there. Sorry, you guys probably can't see that. That's stock on Cakewalk, by the way. Just kind of warms it up a little. That's yours truly. Okay, so that, as good as that sounds, man, I really think we can get that electric guitar up to a better place. I'm not just saying that because it's not me. I'm saying it because it just doesn't sound quite like I'm hearing it in my head. So with that being said, where's it at? It's not Melda. JMG. No, it's not JMG. Instant audio. No. You know what? Let me go to the sort by type. Wow, that didn't help at all. Okay. That's not what I wanted. Instead of sort by type, let's go to where's my plugin layout? Yeah. Yeah, there should be one on there called organized by type, and that's mine. Oh, there it is. It popped up now. Okay. Now, here we go. I can go to, now I can find stuff a lot easier. Woo! Okay, so I'll go to guitar, 𝗬𝗏, that's the name of it. I think that was Sound Devices Digital too. I might be wrong. Maybe it's 𝗵𝗲. Yeah, 𝗵𝗲. So, yeah, this is the way the guitar sounds now. Let's bypass this first. Sounded a little bit better. not sure what was going on there. There we go. All right, that takes care of that noise there. What about here? Did I just delete my guitar track? I did. Sounds like a Jimi Hendrix concert. I mean, I guess I could always just take it out. Okay, so right there, because it looks like that's the only place that it does it at. We'll go like right here to right here. We will delete that portion. And then, like nice little audio engineers, we will fade that portion out and fade this portion in. Let's hear that, how that sounds. A little bit before that. Oh, no, that was too soon. Got to find a happy medium here. A little bit sooner than that. Perfect. And like a good guitarist, I'm going to get rid of that wrong note that I hit there to begin with. about you, but man, this is sounding, I don't know what you guys think, but man, I'm thinking this sounds phenomenal. We have like the best worship band ever. I don't care what y'all say. All right, let's work on these vocals now. Then we can start doing some sweetening. It looks like that's another portion there that needs cut. Stinking guitarists. What are they thinking? In fact, with the plug-in Electrum, I see that you have two plug-in on separate tracks. Would it be easier to do it on the bus sends? No, because I've only got really two guitar tracks. So I could send both guitars to the one bus, but I'm actually trying to get separation. So I'll create two different tracks so that I've got basically essentially two different amps or two different sounds to help create a little bit of separation. Buses make a lot more sense when you have like drums, vocals, choirs, I should say, for vocals. Something where there's a lot of stuff going on that's pretty much the exact same thing. So, all right, I heard a little bit there. Adding it back in. Like I don't like it, but I do. I'll just turn it down a bit. I don't know. Actually, it could, and that might actually be might not be a bad idea. Great suggestion there, by the way. What's the worst that could happen? I mean, we could try it. It might add a little bit of that depth that I'm looking for. computer's going, no, stop. It kind of works, but it's not working at the same time. I think maybe if I take the amp out of the equation, let's try that. Yeah, I mean, I could attempt to do that, yeah. With it being a live performance, I'm afraid it would tune the vocals in between and I could cut out the portions where the 𝗬𝗰𝗀 where the cello was only playing and then go from there, but I don't know. We are 2 hours and 19 minutes into it. Do you guys need a break by way of the chat here on YouTube? Do you guys need a break or can we keep going? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think, it wasn't apparent until you just brought it out and now I can't unhear it. Thanks, man. Thanks. Okay, so let me go back down here. I'm going to do something, hopefully to save some CPU usage. So these tracks here that I feel like they're fairly decent. I like the way that they sound. I'm going to go ahead and freeze all these tracks. So while this is mixing these down, it's basically creating a stasis sort of state. While that's creating that, let me know by way of the chat if you guys have any questions while we're waiting on that. And so Crackly Software has just brought up the fact that the cello is out of tune, and I didn't hear it until he brought it up, and now I can't unhear it. So yeah, we're definitely going to be fixing that. Okay, I think this might take a bit because it's a 12-minute long song, so we will consider this our break, I guess. All right. By way of the chat, also, let me know if you're getting any value out of this. If you are, awesome. If you think there's something you'd like for me to cover that I haven't covered as of yet, and you're like, hey, this is a gray area for me, let me know that as well. Since you just mentioned it, does Cakewalk have a mix down option where you can mix the drums down and retain all the processing to save CPU usage? Yes. So that's essentially what I'm doing right now with the freeze feature, because as you can see, it's going to, when the tracks are frozen, everything that's been done to that track up until that point is actually baked into that track. Now, at any time, I can click on unfreeze and go back and do my readjustments and all of that stuff now in real time, refreeze it and keep all that again. So what it essentially does, what freezing does, is it tells the computer, or the DAW in this point, okay, so now I've got all this stuff happening on this track, and I'm reading 6 and 7 different plugins in real time, which is a lot. that's a lot for a computer to do, especially when you have 29 tracks or 26 now or something like that. So the best thing that you can do then is, if you've already got a great sound out of that particular track, freeze it. And now all of those 6 plugins that it's reading in real time, it bakes it into the track and says, okay, now that's what it should sound like by itself. So it would be like, essentially like doing a mix inside of the mix. Well, the cool thing about the freeze function is, though, at any time, I can go back in and unfreeze that, make more adjustments based off of what my mix decisions might be, refreeze it again if I want. So it's just a great way to save CPU usage. If you notice up here at the top of the screen, I was starting to kind of top out up here on my CPU usage. And as you can see on my RAM usage, I was almost completely topped out. And once your RAM hits the top, once it hits that ceiling, and once your performance bars hit the ceiling, that's it. You're toast. You might as well count on a session crashing on you and you losing all your projects, or at least all the work you've had up until that point. So, yeah, freezing is just a great way to do that. Leon Banks says, what's happening now? Essentially what we're just talking about. I'm just freezing the tracks and trying to get them to, because I notice my computer's getting bogged down right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. So by way of Zoom, while these last few tracks are mixing down, you guys have any tracks? You guys have any questions you would like to ask on Zoom? Feel free to unmute your mic and ask away. Okay. Not even DJ? I thought for sure he'd at least have a joke to crack or something. Awesome. Okay. Can you unfreeze on all DAWs? I don't think you can. I don't think every DAW offers freeze or unfreeze. Studio One has something similar. That's why I asked. I've been watching your CPU bar. So I don't know what Studio One calls it, but there are a lot of DAWs that have. I know Pro Tools has something sort of similar to that as well, where it's like, but it's like a sub mix. It's kind of crazy.
We call it mix down.
Mix down. Okay. Gotcha.
And you paid me not to ask you any questions, so you can get the heck out of here.
You're not supposed to tell about the hush money.
My bad.
That's okay. The CIA is going to show up at your door anyway. Or would it be the FBI? I'm not sure. Awesome. So we got
RCMP.
Yeah. We got I'm not sure what that one stood for, but I'll just go with it. We got a little
Royal Canadian Mountain Police.
Oh yeah, forget you're one of them Canadians, eh? Eh, Hoser? Eh? Oh man, what was that from? There's an old Saturday Night Live.
Strange Brew.
Yeah. It started
Bob
out
and
as
Doug McKenzie.
Yeah, nice. I think that before it ever became a movie or a series or anything, it started out as a Saturday Night Live skit, kind of like Wayne's World. It started out. Yeah, this has nothing to do with music, folks. So Big Poppy M says, I didn't get a link for Zoom. So it's actually pinned at the top of the chat here on YouTube, if you haven't seen it up until this point. Why does it look like it's mixing down the same track?
See, in Studio One, when it's doing that, it puts it on its own separate track and then disables what you just mixed down.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're good to go. But a lot of people don't like doing that because, now they got everything on under one roof.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they start screwing up their levels.
All right. Well, if this takes much longer, I'll just cancel what it's doing right now, and we'll slug our way through it because we really don't have very much more to go. We're just going to start working on vocals next. And it looks like it's mixing down the same track over and over and over. wasn't good. I just lost the organ. Okay, organ's back. Okay, so all these tracks here, minus that one, and that one, are now frozen. We should see at least a little bit of a drop up here, and it looks like we have, yeah. We'll see more of that, though, as we're pressing play. Now, the only bad thing about this whole mix down feature right here, if you want to call it that, the freeze feature, is that now, like let's say I have these plugins on here. If I go in and I make adjustments on these plugins, everything that I do while it's frozen will not take when I unfreeze it. So I will essentially be doing it in an effort in futility. I have to unfreeze it, make my adjustments, and then refreeze it if I want to do that. So just a little side note there. But yeah, we were working on this cello that's not in tune. I want to bring up Melodyne. Let's see if we can fix it a little without making it sound too wonky when the vocals come in, which in all actuality, we shouldn't be hearing the background vocals anyway, but it's a live setting too. So it's like kind of hit or miss. It's like, well, what do we do here? We might be able to make it sound good. I'm sure we can. All right, so I'm going to pull up a classic old Melodyne here, which is going to tax my CPU even more. But the good thing about Melodyne is you can bake it in too. So, and then as a side note, as soon as this gets loaded, so I don't crash the session here. But as a side note, what I'm going to do at this point is I've got it all up to a point where I like it. So I'm going to save it as something so that I have a version to go back to. Because as of right now, we're exactly where we started out with in the save feature of it. So if I was to open up the original file, we'd be right back at square one. Then the autosave file would be where we're at now. But what I can do is, now that this is loaded, is I'll go to save as, and I will say, what a beautiful name, Chains Medley, and I'll call it premix. I don't know. Something to just kind of let me know like there's a something different going on there. So I'm going to open this up. Maybe if it lets me. Okay, so this is the tuning of La Cello. And yeah, there's a little bit of tuning inconsistencies here. So I usually like trying to push the limits with this plugin. So I'm just going to go straight to moving the pitch center like crazy. And I'll put the pitch drift at like 0 or 50%, somewhere around there. Oh, you know what? I just thought about that. I was thinking maybe I could actually zoom in there and take that yes out. Yes, it can be used. You can use auto-tune, absolutely. And there's also a M Auto, which is cheaper. What's it called? Whoa. That might have made it worse. Come on. Oh, I see what you're saying, DJ. Yeah. Let's change that. See if that helps. Okay, let's redetect. Change it to D major. M auto pitch. That was the name of it. Thank you, DJ. And I'm going to go to universal because sometimes it actually does a better job. Okay, that's not what I was wanting. That's more for drums. Which it can't be used for drums to like tune the snare or to adjust the timing. So, hey, we got Crackly and Aaron in here. Good deal. Okay, so I'm sorry this is taking so long here, guys. If someone wouldn't have said that about the cello, I never would have even. Eventually, I would have noticed it, but it would have been too late then. Okay, let's see here. Let's do snap to chord scale. Bring this down here. Good night. It's acting slow as molasses. Okay, let's play that one section right there again. Okay, so I think everything from this point forward is just going to get docked. Let's just dock it. That's how we'll fix that. Okay. Back to the matter at hand, then vocals. When in doubt, cut it out.
Now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name. The name of Jesus. Yes, it is. What a beautiful name it is. And nothing compares to it. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. It is. And nothing compares to it. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. Didn't want heaven without her. So Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name What a wonderful name it is. And nothing compares to this. What a The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus.
Okay, so now this would be a good instance where we need to create a bus for them. We'll call this choir.
Could not hold you. The veil tore before you. You silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again. You have no rival. You have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom.
Yeah. So would you expect to correct for phase on the vocal mics? No, because they're still mono recordings. So if it was a stereo recording with more than one microphone, then yeah, I would. But because they're mono recordings, then no. Good question though.
It is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus.
So the lower registered voices are going to be more in the middle. The higher registered voices are going to be more on the right and left sides.
Jesus, you brought heaven down.
I'm going to put one of those higher registers right in the middle. Leon's asking the question and I'm literally answering it right as soon as he's asking it. How do you like that? That's cool.
It is. Nothing compares to this.
I'm going to put
Beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. Didn't want heaven
okay, I'm going to put these far right, far left. I'm going to put these.
Jesus, you brought heaven down.
50-50. It looks like this mic needed to be turned up.
Sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now?
For the background Vox 6, why not keep in pairs and pan the first pair left, right, 50, second pair, third. That's kind of what I'm doing. And then the lead vocalists for the male side of things are going to be more in the center. I'm only painting them 30. So we got the males 30. We've got the females 50 and 100. Actually, instead of 100, let's do 70. I don't like 100 anymore. I used to, not so much anymore. Okay, so this is sort of the static mix of what we got of that.
It is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is.
But what I am noticing is like this vocalist right here, she has no gain on her mic. We're going to fix that with a little 𝐶𝐴 set to limit.
It is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. You didn't want heaven without us. Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is.
I'm going to go ahead and put
𝗂𝗃
on all these just to make sure that they're absolutely consistent. Sorry, I'm trying to talk over all these people singing here. We're almost there, folks. Just a little bit longer here, and we'll have this really lined up.
It is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus. Didn't want heaven without us. Jesus, you brought heaven down. Sin was great, your love was greater.
Okay, so the female vocals need to come down.
Separate us now. What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a wonderful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is.
Okay. And now my mouse quit working. Okay, so we'll close all those down. We got sort of a rough mix of that. They're all being sent to the choir. So we can do all of our EQing here. And I know, yes, they are male and female vocalists. So it's going to require a little bit of a difference. But the main thing is that I can get like the lows off, shave that off. Anything above 70 hertz, actually anything above 90 hertz. And then I can take out a little bit of the honkiness from the 700 range and the 1200 range. Just take out a little bit of that. Okay. And then, what am I looking for here? Yeah. This could definitely break it right here. This could break the entire stream. Okay, so good old 𝗬𝗃. And I'm going to use this for de-essing, because it's the most transparent de-esser I've ever heard in my life.
It is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. And what could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name. Death could not hold you. The veil tore before you. You silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring, the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again, and you have no rival.
Okay, so now we've got the final portion of this is just mainly going to be the sweetening of it. Now, obviously, there's some things that we're not going to get to in this master class, and that is going to be like vocal cleaning up, vocal tuning, stuff like that. But we are still going to get to the point where we essentially master this. Now, one thing that I want to say is when it comes to mastering, if you are working on one song at a time, it's not like you're working on an album at a time, which actually this plays into a lot of us now, especially because the thing of like records, like it used to be, it's not really a thing anymore. Used to, a record was the only way that you went. And you would have 15 songs that you needed all mixed differently. And in today's case, what we're dealing with now, everybody's just releasing singles and EPs. So at the most, you might have 3 or 4, sometimes maybe even 5 songs that you've got to worry about. So if you're only doing one song at a time, though, you can literally like master while you're mixing. And that's why I'm talking about mixing into the 𝗧𝗵𝗲 And if you were a part of this class, stay tuned, keep in touch with your emails, because you're going to get a copy of the 𝗧𝗵𝗲 for free just for showing up for and signing up for the masterclass. So if you don't have it yet, hold off on buying it because you're going to get a copy of it for free, thanks to our good folks over at IK Multimedia. Okay, so if you guys have watched the streams before, you know what I'm doing right now. So I'm setting up a short room, medium, and this is all based off of the reverb and delay calculator that's found on the website. Okay. And then the last one would be 1.7 millisecond or 1 second, 7 millisecond. Okay, so because this is a live recording, though, I want you to be mindful of this too. Because this is a live recording, it's going to be a bit different. So I'm going to take everything 250 hertz down. And all of the high highs down. It'll be completely wet. I should have done that with all of them first, but it's okay. We'll get there. The stereo room plugin from Eventide is absolutely amazing. It's a godsend. Okay, so to your point, Leon, this will be the only masterclass, and then you'll just get a copy of the video itself. So if you have follow-up questions, though, feel free to have follow-up questions and just say, hey, I'm referencing the masterclass that we were just a part of. I noticed this. You know that I'm always around and I'm always willing to help. So don't feel like you're going to be left in the dark with a bunch of stuff that I'm throwing at you today. I want to make sure you get the most value of this, not just today and today's stream only, but also in the days to come. So I like to start with, here lately, I've been starting with just the short reverb first before I add anything else in. The first thing that I think is going to benefit from this is obviously the vocals. So because the lead vocals is on a channel all by herself, I'm going to do her first.
And nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus.
That already helps tremendously.
Didn't want heaven without her. So Jesus, you brought heaven down.
And I'm going to affect all of the lead or the background vocals.
My sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is. And nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is.
Please don't crash on me. Not now. We're so close.
It is, and nothing compares to this.
Nice.
What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus. Didn't want heaven without us. So Jesus, you brought heaven down.
Already sounds so much better.
My sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What
Don't you do it. Ooh, let me save it. I need to move away from Reaper to Cakewalk. Hey, we've got one coming on board, maybe. Okay, so now it's just mainly sprucing up things with a little bit of reverb. The guitars don't need it as much because they're getting reverb from the plugins. The saxophone definitely needs it. I feel like it needs to be nestled into the mix a little bit more. And so we'll just start sweetening it up that way.
it is, and nothing compares to
I need
this.
to move to where the sax is
What a
at.
beautiful name it is,
That's a
the
good
name
portion. Here's a good portion.
to life again.
Yeah, my computer's like, nope. Sorry, bozo.
To life again. And you have no rival. You reign, and your king. Yours is the name above.
Okay, so the computer is officially telling me no more. And I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that I'm recording this onto my computer at the same time that I'm streaming it. So there's that. Okay, I'm going to try. Yeah, freezing tracks at this point is just going to be even more time consuming. So what can I do here? Let's see. I'll just put on sort of like general settings that I think might work, because I think a lot of it's because I'm doing this while it's playing. And then we'll kind of go from there. Usually -6 on the sends is a great starting place, by the way. And because this is live, like, it doesn't need really too awful much. It just needs something to kind of give it a little bit of depth. However, these keys, these are not live keys in a sense, because they are DI and ran through a DI box. I'm just going to go off of like some basic settings that I think I might normally use anyway. Yeah. Okay. This organ definitely needs a little bit of something there. Little 6 there, and long haul here. Much better. Okay, we're good on the bass. And then as for the drums, I can actually utilize where'd my console view go? It got lost on me. I'll utilize the buses for the drums, but I don't have to worry about. So says no again. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this push knob all the way down, because this is really where it affects all of these things that you're doing over here. So now essentially what we're going to do, and I know this is kind of quick and dirty, but we're reaching the end of this masterclass. What I want to do though is this literally is what I do for my masters. I know you're probably thinking, well, that's cheesy, but I've literally mastered the track while I'm mixing it. And that's another key point that I wanted to sort of bring you into. So earlier when I got my static mix and I got my sounds, I put on the 𝗬𝗏1 on the master bus and started mixing into it. So essentially I'm getting into it. And remember, I was about -6 dBs on the master fader. So essentially I've already got my headroom built in from there. Now I'm mixing into the mastering plugin so that whenever I get my master, as I'm mixing, I'm mastering at the same time. Does that make sense? So no, this isn't the standard protocol way to do it. Obviously, the best way to do it would be to send it off to a real mastering engineer that could actually, take it and run with it. But this is a great way to get your songs that radio ready right out of the gate anyway. I mean, you're already doing the mix. You can do the master at the same time. Nobody else is going to be telling you this on the internet. I promise you. There may be a few people out there that do this, but I'm literally mixing into a mastering plugin. So I've turned down the push knob because this is affecting these 3 knobs over here. The air knob is going to give me that airy sheen to the mix that you hear in a lot of professional mixes. The focus is going to clean up those low mids and allow you to hear a lot of the instruments more separated. And the body is going to be adding back in the guttural sort of low end of the mix. And so let's go ahead and I'm going to turn the 𝗬𝗏1 down because it's kind of hot right now. And we'll slowly start adjusting these. The bass punch and analog I'll adjust as well. Now look, I've got tons of headroom still because I was mixing into this plugin. -3 headroom. So even if I sent it off like it is right now to a mastering engineer, he'd be like, dude, thanks. I'm glad you got me -3 dBs. That's usually what they work with anyway. So now we're going to slowly start pushing the volume level until we see it start to tap up to the top there a little bit, because it's never going to go over now. It's never going to clip on you because you got this plug in there. That's sort of the danger of using it. That's why a lot of people are like, no, I won't do that. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. And we're essentially going to master this on the fly. So are you ready? Here we go. Okay, now the width knob on this, I have said this time and time again on several of my mix critiques or on the live streams for the mix contest or song contests, that widening plugins on single elements does not do good. Neither, and it doesn't do good a lot of times on the master bus. However, the reason, yes, it's just like the 𝗏𝗏 plugin. The reason why it works on this plugin, because whatever they've done under the hood, it just works. And I've literally checked the phase correlation whenever I use this on a mix, and it's seamless. So whenever it tells you you're getting width, it really is width. And when you fold it back down to mono, you don't lose it. It doesn't sound weird. And we might even do a mono test here. So this right here is some good start off settings, I think, that get us to a good point. Let's give it another listen. Turn the bass up a little. Okay. So we've come a long way. I want you to hear, before we hop off here today, I want you to hear, this is bypassed all the effects. This is what we started with.
The praise of your glory, for you are raised to life again.
Essentially,
And you have
this is what we got.
no rival. You reign, your kingdom,
Okay, one last thing. Now let's check the... Okay, one last thing. We're going to check if it will ever work here. My computer is screaming at me. We're going to check the Boolean loudness meter. And with a loudness meter, I try to aim for -14 LUFS or LUFS. And that kind of gets you in the ballpark to where no matter where you submit it to, and if you're going through DistroKid, which you should be, use my link, by the way. If you're going through DistroKid, then you should have, it will be on all of the different aggregators out there, Spotify, YouTube, so on and so forth. -14 is about like the middle of the road where you want to hit so that it sounds decent on all of those platforms. It's not going to be clipping. So let's see where it's at.
praise of your glory, for you are raised to life again. And you
Okay, you're just going to take my word for that because it's going whoop. Nope, sorry. But that's essentially, that's what I'm going to be looking for. And it's going to be here on the integrated. I'm going to be looking for -14. And the way that I can make the adjustments there is basically just balancing out the mix, turning down or turning up things until I get that sonic structure that I'm looking for. Now it's going to be a little bit different on this too, because it's live, but essentially you guys have just witnessed the entire process of mixing a song from start to finish. You've seen all of my behind the scenes stuff. I've explained a lot. Now let's open it up for some questions real quick so that we can hopefully make sure that we get you even more value out of this. And another thing I would make mention of is this is still not done though. One of the main things that we didn't cover in this, because it would be a whole nother hours, is the automation. So with automation, you can actually adjust volume levels and it will do it automatically in the DAW. And what you want to do is you want to adjust the volume levels of certain instruments at different times. So all of those instruments don't have to be the same loudness all the time. There's times when the guitars need to be up front more than the rest of it. There's times when they need to fall back. And with automation, you can do that. You can essentially create a mix that's dynamic all the way throughout the entirety of the song, to where at just that key point, the bass comes up and you hear that run, and then it goes back down to where it needs to be. Automation is going to be your friend in that. And that's what really separates a casual mix from a mastered mix. And obviously we would be fading these out. We'll be cleaning up some vocals, tuning some vocals. We'll be cleaning up all of the stuff in the middle there, because this is a live recording yet again. There's a lot of like, you're going to hear like coughs and stuff like that. You're going to clean all of that up. But essentially you have seen all of the behind the scenes stuff. And we do cover a little bit of this on the live streams, like whenever I have a live mixing session, but I don't go in depth like I have today. Like this has been very in depth. So let's open it up for some Q&A. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and hop over on the Zoom call, and we're going to close the session out today with some questions. And then if you want to ask a question, just go ahead and raise a hand and we'll get to you. No questions? I've done a really good job. If you
Settle down. Okay, if no one's going, I will.
Okay. Go for
Why
it.
do you always use the same reverb plugin and not mix it up with different ones? What is your thought process behind that?
So it's essentially like, why do you always reach for the same guitar? Why do you always reach for the same amplifier? When you
'Cause
know
you're
a
familiar.
sound, yeah, exactly. When you know a sound and you're used to that sound and you know exactly what it's going to produce. And that's where, going back to the discussion we had earlier about getting your own unique sound, there's not a lot of people that use the 2016 Eventide reverb. They use, a myriad of other reverbs. So by me sort of using something that I'm used to, always reaching for what I'm used to, have I ever used other ones? Yes. All the time I use other ones. The Big Sky reverb I've been using a lot on guitars. That new plugin I just covered, the Paralysis, that's an amazing plugin. And I'll probably use more of that. But in a session like this, where I know what I hear in my head, what I want it to sound like, I'm going to reach for what I'm used to, what I'm comfortable with, if that makes sense.
It does, but you don't like to try to go out of your comfort zone to see what else you can achieve.
Yeah,
You
at
might come
times,
up with something better than what you did.
yeah. And at times that's a good thing to do. I'm not saying don't ever do that. I'm saying that in order for, at least for this particular process, I may even go back through there and swap out some things later. But it comes down to personal preference and speed. Because if you're going to be doing this for paid clients, they want turnaround quickly. So if you already know what you need to get at quickly, just reach for it and go. So looks like Crackly has.
Yeah, on YouTube, he's got a question.
Okay.
Would you ever use a slider interface to balance the levels?
Absolutely. Yeah. I used to use the Boss ME80 or ME80, the Boss BR800 as a control surface. And there's a way to do it here with the Rodecaster Pro, but because all the issues I have with the Rodecaster Pro 2, I've not actually thought about. I did think about getting just a dedicated control surface that has faders and sliders. So I'd have more of a tactile approach, which in this case, when you're using it for automation, it's perfect. That's an amazing use case for it because, it makes it just feel more tactile. So let me get my mug off the screen here and we'll go back to this.
Come on, Leon, don't be shy. We know you have questions.
Come on, Leon.
Okay, so all right, yeah, you got me. All right, so yeah, it was pretty interesting process here to see what you did, but so while you're saying that you were mixing while you were going along, wasn't that like a bit harsh on the computer? Also, shouldn't it have like bounced the entire track then do like a master mix?
So essentially, yes and no. And here's what I mean by that. So, yes, it is harder than computer. And that's mainly because I'm recording this to my computer at the same time that I'm streaming it. At the same time, I have Zoom. So it's like, there's a lot on my computer right now. But with that being said, that's where the buses come in. In most cases, like I could have used a keys bus. I did use a drums bus. I used a vocals bus, like a choir bus. That will save a lot of CPU. But as far as like the mixing, mastering while I'm mixing, is that what kind of a question you had too? Right. Okay. So if I like get my levels in sort of the static mix of the raw tracks, which I kind of did, I kind of skipped ahead because I could see that was going to take a while. If I get a good volume level on my master fader, it was at -6, and then I put my mastering plugin on, if I'm only going to be mixing that one song, then I wouldn't really need to export it out and then send it back into a separate mastering session. Now, if I'm doing a 3-song EP, then I'm going to mix that song without the mastering plugin, or I'm going to mix it into the mastering plugin. My bad. Sorry. But I'm going to take the mastering plugin off before I export it, because that's helping me to get essentially what I'm hearing in my head for the master. When you have a mastering plugin on the master bus, it brings up all the lows and the highs and sort of condenses everything down. so that those things that you're going to hear in your final master are going to be heard in the mixing process, so that you're not later going, oh yeah, wait a minute, I've got to go back and adjust. So you're not hopping back and forth between two different sessions. So if I had a 3-song EP, I would take the mastering plugin off the master bus, then export it in the state that it was in after I felt like I got a good mix. I would do that same process for the second and third songs, and then I would fly all of those into one separate mastering session. And now from there, I would have 3 tracks that would be stereo files of my mixes that I would then master, and I could solo them out and hear them next to each other and use like the loudness meter that I just talked about to make sure they're all sort of the same levels, and they have sort of the same sonic footprint, if that makes sense. That's when it would make sense to export them and as stereo files and bring them into a separate session if you have more than one song. So if it's just like a single, you have a lot more free reign to just do it all while you're mixing. And then at the end of it, you've saved yourself a ton of legwork, because now you're not flying into a separate session and realizing, oh no, the bass was too loud, I need to come back in. And now to that mix section, turn the bass down by 3 dBs, now come back into the mastering session. So it just saves a ton of time. And like I said, it's all about time. So.
Oh, this is where I can do a dig against Cakewalk. This is where you want Studio One, because you can take your track, send it to the project page, and master your whole album in one section without leaving your DAW.
There you go. Nice.
Come to the dark side.
I know nothing about the dark side. I don't know what you're talking about. Awesome. Any more questions? Big Papi M, I seen you just kind of popped in here. If you guys are
connection.
Yeah, he got back into the Zoom call at least. Any other questions? Crackly, you got a question, buddy? I think he's been asking over here in the chat. Okay, cool. So going forward though, in the next couple of days after this gets posted and you get to go back and rewatch or at least skip ahead, I'm going to try to include timestamps too, so that you can kind of go to key elements in the mix, which should make it easier on you. During that time, as you're watching it, if you have questions from that time forward, just reference that in an email and say, hey, this is in reference to the Mastering the Mix Masterclass we just had. Why did you do this? Why are you not using Studio One, Robert? Why are you, I knew it. I at least got a laugh out of him. Why are you not doing this? Or why did you do this? So I'm always here for you guys. So anytime that you need to follow up with a question, even though this class might be over, please hit me up. And then,
there's even Discord, you can ask questions too.
Exactly. Discord, that's another good place. And what we might do is, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there. This wasn't included in the price, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out there. Like, let's say a week from now, we might just hop inside of the VIP membership area. If you're not a VIP member, let me know and I'll go ahead and give you a month's trial.
We all got 3 months with the masterclass.
Oh yeah. Hello. Okay. So you're all in there. Hello. I totally forgot about that. Awesome. So yeah, you guys are already in the VIP. So like next week, we'll maybe do like a follow-up for everyone that's been a part of the masterclass to just hop on another Skype call inside the VIP members area. I've been wanting to test it out anyway. It'd be a great way for all of us to be like guinea pigs and try this out. So we could have it's called like a meeting room. We could all meet up in there and just kind of get together. And if you guys have any follow-up questions, then that'd be a great time to ask. So cool. Awesome.
I have a suggestion for you.
Yes, sir.
Since you during the live streams, you're not able to do it because we try to keep the streams to a certain duration, and the master class would go on for another hour to demonstrate it. What about putting automation course together?
That's not a bad idea. We could even use this mix as a follow-up, and then I could because
a lot of people, I guarantee you, don't use this to its full potential when they're mixing their songs during the contest. They're just trying to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that might be something that I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there too. So for everybody that was in here for the masterclass, if I get time and I can create that video, because that's going to be an intense video as well. If I create that video, everyone who is in the masterclass is automatically going to get access to that as well. So that should be like a nice little follow-up, little extra nugget I'll drop in there on you. And not the wrong kind of nugget, not the kind that you leave in the toilet. I'm talking like a good nugget. So
Well, if you need help editing so you're not being
right.
so
Cool. Okay. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for showing up. I have a dinner date now, and she's staring me in the eyes, so I know what that means. If there's no more questions, though, I love you guys. Thank you all for showing up. Like I said, I'm always here for you, so any follow-up questions you got, feel free to email. And yeah. All right. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope this was useful. And we'll be seeing you all later.
Thanks for
Take
the
care,
warning.
guys.
Thanks for the warning. All right. Bye-bye. Love y'all.
See ya, guys.